we have John Van Limbeek joining us from Abbott Wealth Management. Happy Wednesday to you.
Hi.
Yeah. We were talking last week when John was here, we were talking about earnings season. And so we're going to carry on with that a little bit today.
Yeah, I mean, the earnings season comes out every quarter. You know, it's just when the companies start, obviously, like we said last week, publishing what they made. Out of that comes the dividends. Ideally comes the dividends, either a dividend cut or a dividend announcement, or ideally a dividend raise, right? So when we looked at the banks briefly last week, but if we look at the banks from 2014, their combined earnings were just a little bit north of $32 billion.
That's a lot of money. It
is a lot of money, but they're big businesses. So I don't know. Right now, I don't know what percentage that would be, but that is a lot of money that they're making. But what is nice about that is that they've paid a dividend for most of them for over 100 years. That dividend last year was north of, or a little bit over $14.7 billion, something around that. So that's the share of the profit that they've now, the board of directors have decided to give back to the shareholders. Meaning you and me and virtually almost every other Canadian that might have an investment fund or a investment portfolio. Maybe the Canada Pension Plan would have, you know, part banks in there. So it's a big number, but it's a big amount that they're giving back.
Right.
Of that number.
Right. So depending on whether or not you've invested in those.
True. Yeah.
Right.
You have to be a shareholder or an owner of a Royal Bank or TD or one of the banks, one of the big six, for example, to get part of that profit back.
Right. Interesting. So that's the 6 major banks.
That's the 6 major banks for 2014.
All right. Should we have our question of the week?
Sure.
Question of the week, pretty please. Here it is. What is a dividend?
So the dividend is the share of the profit that a company makes. So it is decided by the board of directors. Usually quarterly, they'll decide whether they're going to pay the dividend, raise the dividend, or cut the dividend. And if you're owning a business, you don't want to be on the cutting side. You don't want to take your profit or and have less money this year than last year. And ideally, you want to raise it.
I have to ask you this. If they made $32 billion and they gave out 14.7 of that in dividends, where does the rest of the money go? The rest
goes back to, it's reinvested in the business.
Right.
So it goes back into either buying more businesses or to increasing, you know, capital or equipment or whatever it is but that's reinvested, and that's usually around a fair number. 45–50% is what that payout ratio, they call it, is, not to get more technical terms, but there's a safe number where you can pay out of profit where you're not impacting the business for future growth.
Okay, fantastic. Excellent. Anything else you want to discuss today?
No, that'll be it.
We got it. That's it. All right. John Van Limbeek, will we see you back here again next week?
Not too sure. Mark might be back by then. Okay, well, it's always a pleasure to have you on when Mark's away, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Okay, if you have a question for Abbott Wealth, information is on the screen, info@abbottwealth.com. You can email them or check out their website. We're back in 2 minutes. Stay with us.